Most people believe being nice is always a good thing. Be kind, be polite, be helpful. Think about others first. From childhood, we're taught that this is what makes someone a good person. And for a long time, it seems true. People like you. You avoid conflict. You keep the peace. But something strange starts happening when you become too nice. People interrupt you more. They cancel plans without apologizing. They ask for favors again and again. And somehow, the nicer you try to be, the less seriously people seem to take you. Eventually, you begin asking yourself a quiet question. Why does being nice make my life harder? The answer is uncomfortable, because the problem isn't kindness. The problem is something hidden behind it, something psychologists call approval seeking. And once people sense it, everything about how they treat you changes. Many people aren't nice purely because they want to be kind. They're nice because they're hoping for something in return: approval, acceptance, being liked. This creates what psychologists call an unspoken social contract. It looks something like this. If I'm nice to you, you should like me. If I help you, you should respect me. If I avoid conflict, you should treat me well. But here's the problem. The world doesn't follow this contract. People don't automatically respect kindness. In fact, when kindness is mixed with insecurity, it often produces the opposite result. Because people are extremely sensitive to social signals. And when someone is constantly trying to please everyone, that signal becomes obvious. It communicates something subtle but powerful. I need your approval. And the moment that signal appears, the social dynamic changes. Humans are incredibly good at detecting status and confidence. We do it unconsciously within seconds. Small behaviors reveal everything. Over-explaining yourself, agreeing too quickly, laughing too hard at jokes, apologizing when you didn't do anything wrong, trying to fill every silence. Each of these behaviors sends the same underlying message: please like me. And strangely, this message creates pressure. Because when someone is trying too hard to be liked, the other person feels responsible for giving that approval. And most people instinctively pull away from that pressure. Not because they dislike you, but because it feels uncomfortable. Confidence, on the other hand, sends a completely different signal. Your approval is welcome, but not necessary. And that difference changes everything. There's another uncomfortable truth. People test boundaries, not in a malicious way, but in a natural social way. For example, someone asks for a small favor. You say yes. Later, they ask for a bigger favor. You say yes again. Eventually, they begin assuming the answer will always be yes. And over time, something subtle happens. What was once appreciated kindness slowly becomes expected behavior. Psychologists call this boundary erosion. When someone never says no, others unconsciously stop valuing the yes. This is why many people who are extremely nice often feel overworked, emotionally drained, or taken for granted. They aren't treated poorly because they're bad people. They're treated poorly because their boundaries are invisible. Kindness and people-pleasing look similar on the surface, but internally they come from completely different places. Kindness says, I choose to help you. People-pleasing says, I'm afraid not to. Kindness feels calm. People-pleasing feels anxious. Kindness allows disagreement. People-pleasing avoids conflict at any cost. Kind people can say no without guilt. People-pleasers feel responsible for everyone's emotions. And this difference completely changes how others perceive you. Because genuine kindness comes from strength, but approval-seeking kindness often comes from fear. And humans instinctively respect strength more than fear. If boundaries are so important, why do people struggle with them? Because setting boundaries risks something people fear deeply: rejection. When you start saying no, some people will react differently. They might act surprised. They might push back. They might even disappear from your life. And that moment can feel terrifying. But here's the strange paradox. The people who disappear when you set boundaries were often the ones benefiting from your lack of them. Healthy relationships survive boundaries. Unbalanced ones don't. And that's actually useful information. One of the most powerful social signals a person can send is simple: comfort with disapproval. Not arrogance, not rudeness, just the quiet ability to say, "I understand if you disagree." When someone shows they are okay with not being liked by everyone, something surprising happens. People often respect them more because they no longer feel pressured to manage that person's emotions. The interaction becomes relaxed, authentic, and strangely, people who stop trying to be liked often become more likable. Not because they changed who they are, but because they stopped performing. Being kind is not a weakness. The world genuinely needs more kindness. But kindness without boundaries can slowly turn into self-neglect. So the goal isn't to become less kind. The goal is to become kind and clear. Kind enough to care about people. Clear enough to protect your time, energy, and self-respect. Because the moment you stop chasing approval, something interesting happens. People start seeing the real version of you. And that version is usually far more respected than the one that was trying so hard to be liked.